Let's go back to the parliamentary precinct where my colleague Nompumelelo Siziba and Bulelani Philip are. Very good afternoon and over to you.
Thanks very much, Nzinga, and the viewers. Well, we continue to experience loudspeaker and loud decibel vibes from the EFF as they protest about the government borrowing money from the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. Of course, their gripe is that these organizations continue to sway our economic policy and aren't necessarily suited to the South African environment. That is their particular view. Earlier, off camera, I was speaking with Bulelani and asking him about, of course, we know we are in the parliamentary precinct and there was that terrible fire on the 2nd of January. Was just asking him whether he thinks, in fact, the minister may speak to money being allocated for the refurbishment of Parliament. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, good afternoon to you, Nompu, and to the viewers at home. Of course, it's something that I would think the finance minister would have to consider, given the importance of this institution in the country, as well as the need to have a national parliament in this country. Of course, you might have seen that debates are around how much is it going to cost to reconstruct a parliament, and some people have even speculated that it may cost 100 billion rand a day. But the question really now is that will the finance minister actually give Parliament an additional allocation to ensure that it supports Parliament in reconstructing this particular institution? Of course, I would expect him to be lenient even under the current economic conditions. But of course, it's up to him and whether he'll come to the table or whether he will probably give them a commitment that in future will be able to actually give you additional allocations given the current fiscal constraints.
Let me grab back my mic and keep it. So the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, has entered the Chamber of Good Hope. So that's a good sign that things are about to get underway. You can see him standing there about to make himself comfortable ahead of Enoch Godongwana's maiden budget speech at 2 o'clock. This is usually a punctual affair. And as much as there's disruption outside, I think there's very little disruption inside. And so therefore we do expect that things will get off to speed as planned. Bulelani, of course, from a political perspective, do you think that perhaps political parties can find a way of rallying around this government as they deliver the budget statement, because it should be for all of us?
Look, Nompu, that's always a difficult thing because political parties are fighting for different ideologies and directions for economic growth. You'll recall that when the president made his State of the Nation address, the DA was first and quick upfront to say that the president has actually taken some of their policies and included them in the State of the Nation address. So they were taking actually, knocking themselves in the chest to say that the president is actually beginning to listen to them. But on the other hand, if you look at a party like the EFF, it says that, this particular State of the Nation address has actually appeased the right and is pro-business. And as you've just heard a short while ago, the Deputy President of the EFF, Mr. Floyd Shivambu, actually referring to the President as a puppet. So depending on where you're standing on the political spectrum, the idea of a finance minister giving a budget speech that is going to appease everyone, it's not possible, I would argue.
Yeah, it's near impossible. And just in terms of the gathering today, what do we know? How much of it is physically attended? How much of it is virtual? Because we're still living in COVID times, sort of.
Well, look, the issue of the attendance, it's one that is fluid, and given that this particular venue that's behind us, the Good Hope Chamber, is much smaller than where the State of the Nation address was held. So the number of people who would be allowed in the chamber would be actually far less than those that were allowed to be in the Cape Town City Hall. Of course, there is that proviso that those members who are not able to actually attend here physically due to the limitations in numbers can be able to join the sitting virtually. So there's that balance whether if you are unable to attend the sitting physically, there is that proviso that you can attend virtually. So expect a full house.
Yes, and of course in the interim, just tell us a little bit about the Good Hope Chambers. You know, who normally sits there? You know, is it usually for select committees or what?
Look, the Good Hope Chamber is one of the venues that is used for committees. And its advantage, it's probably the biggest committee room that is here in Parliament. Hence, I would think that the wisdom of the presiding officers opting for that venue is actually quite good, given that it can accommodate more people than any other venue here in Parliament that's currently available.